because I was in here and you weren't. I think if we do Q&As up here, it'd be better with lighting and everything. The lighting looks a little off. Yes, as you are entering, please don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you.
Indiana, Georgia.
Now Chris is going to do the Rain Man portion of his the Rain Man portion of tonight's Q&A.
Omaha. Happy New Year to you too. Texas, God bless the Republic.
That's Joey from Beaumont, I believe.
Well, Alaska. New Mexico. My grandparents lived in New Mexico for almost 20 years in Albuquerque. I visited them a couple times, visited Sandia, White Sands Missile Range.
We got France in here too.
Bonjour?
No, well, would it be bonsoir right now? Maybe not. Yeah.
I don't know, I'm Italian. Pennsylvania.
Well, it's the evening. Although it might be morning there.
Where are you from in Pennsylvania? My family grew up, or is from Pennsylvania. My father's from Evansburg, Culver. My mother's from State College, Lock Haven area.
Joey said, yep, boring old Beaumont. Yep, some things never change. My brother still lives there.
Korea. Wow.
In fact, he works at one of the HEBs there.
Shenandoah.
That is where our FFL resides.
That's right.
In Shenandoah.
The gun room. Raleigh.
Really do sound like Rain Man. We have no submitted questions tonight, so we're going to be starting from zero. If you guys would like to donate during the chat, I'll pop the donate link down here. This is our preferred method because they only take about 2 to 3%. Google does take 30%, but either way, you can use either of those to donate during the chat. Get your question bumped to the top. If you'd like to do it with the donor box link, that link is also on smallarmsolutions.com. And you just put your questions in the comment section, and I'll get an email, and you'll get to kind of bump the line of questions.
Wisconsin. My daughter was born in Milwaukee.
Yeah, our oldest was born there. We like to tease her that she's a cheesehead. Okay, let's start getting into some questions. If you have a question, put it in the chat line, and I'm going to start pulling them. Hopefully you guys liked our video out yesterday. There's always a little lag when I come back from Christmas break to get stuff out, but we've been filming and editing, and you'll have lots of good stuff coming up. I'm sure Chris will update you soon. Whatever the quality of the new CR6920s by Colt?
I haven't had a chance to see one in hands. I do plan on getting one at some point in the near future. You know, from whatever I understand, there's nothing wrong with the quality of them. The whole point that I've made, and that Tim over at the Military Arms Channel has made, is these are not guns made in Colt. They're not made by Colt. They're parts that these are subcontracted out parts. That's all we're ever saying. They could be good quality. They could be whatever. The ones that that Tim saw, you were certainly pleased with the quality. The only point is that these are not made in Colt. They're not the same thing as the original 6920s and the guns that were made in the Hartford plant.
Yeah, and the gentleman who asked that question, you don't need to ask it several times, especially if it's just recently asked, because I'm going to go straight up to the top and kind of go down the line. So don't despair if you don't think your question is going to get asked or answered, but doing it repeatedly is not gonna help. Michael says, one chat, you will have to use an accent from every region for the first minute. That would be interesting. What are your opinions on the Falltour A5 system?
It's an excellent system. I've got them on several. You know, the place where they truly shine are those of you who want to convert a 20-inch barrel to a telescopic stock. That's what they were designed for. They work excellent on the carbines as well. Absolutely nothing wrong with it at all. You just got to make sure that you match up the proper buffer with it.
Have you done your BRN 180 testing yet?
We've had that video's been out for quite some time. We just did the one on the Gen 2. The Gen 2, I've had a lot more better luck with the accuracy. You know, the Gen 1, reliability was never an issue. They all work. There was never any kind of functional issues with it at all. It seemed like the original 1 or 2 that I got of the Gen 1's accuracy was still, you know, 2 to 3 inches, but you would expect better from that. The Gen 2 that we got, when they changed the handguard, the way the handguard is attached, I think it made a little bit of a difference. I was much happier with the accuracy of the Gen 2.
Do you like the F1 AR-15s?
You know, it's a novelty at best. I have a big problem with the, you know, everything being open like that. From a, you know, again, I look at things from a military standpoint or a law enforcement duty standpoint, and the fact that those things are all cut open like that, I don't care for that. Now, for somebody who wants a range tool or they want something they're going to compete with, I'm sure excellent. I've never heard anything about the negative quality. It's the concept I'm not crazy about.
Is rifle gas with carbine buffer and tube an issue, and will it result in overgassing?
Well, generally, it's the fact that you have to have a little bit more weight. If you look at the weight of a rifle buffer for a rifle length gas system, you're looking at 5 of the steel weights. Well, you figure your standard carbine, you know, it's 3. You figure an H2 is equivalent to 4, and an H3 is closest to the actual weight of a rifle buffer. So it's a matter of fact that for as far as the gas system of a carbine, the longer barrel, it's overgassed. There's more gas pressure in there, so you have to have the proper weight for it.
John on Donor Box, thank you, John. He said, what buffer size would you suggest for a 10.3 inch 5.56 that will be suppressed?
Probably an H2. An H or an H2. It depends on your barrel. H2 probably, with it being suppressed, would probably be best for that one.
Ooh, this is going to be the topic for
Yes, it
the
will.
evening. How about CZ buying Colt, and will that also include Colt Canada?
Well, it would be, because Colt Defense owns Colt Canada. So unless there's a selling off of that, I highly doubt it. You know, I'm going to come right out and say I think it's a good thing. This is the first time Colt's going to be owned by a gun manufacturer rather than a bunch of investors who could care less about the company. They just want to bleed it for profits. So, you know, the CZ did a great job with Dan Wesson. They're a successful gun company. They're very innovative. I hope they have the sense to buy it and to go in there and gut out the management and get rid of the problem, and bring in people who will bring the company back. You know, there's rumors at it that CZ USA wants to go out to Arkansas. It would be very smart for them to pull a Colt out of Canada and bring it to Arkansas. The potential is there for this company need to be brought out by having a proper owner, and by getting rid of these shareholders who basically have just bled the company dry for the last 60, 70 years, and who were responsible for the company not having money, even though they made money. But you also have to bring in the proper management. If you don't have the proper management, the company will never succeed. They've got to clean house of that entire front office. You know, the people in the factory are awesome. God knows that the union has caused problems there in the past as well, or the state. But I think this could be a really good thing. I mean, let's face it, what they're doing hasn't worked. It hasn't worked forever. And this is the first time they're going to be bought by an actual gun company who actually knows how to make money and knows what people want. So this is a real positive thing.
Carrie wants to know if you would take a job at Colt if they offered it.
I don't know. Consulting maybe.
maybe consulting.
Yeah, well, for, full time, my health isn't that great, so that definitely isn't going to happen. But I definitely would consider a consulting job with them.
Yeah, Chris would never work full time at any facility like that again. But also, no, I don't see it.
No.
Consulting, maybe, yeah, but not doing what he did. That's why I think I get probably more offended than he does when you have stupid people on the internet who, think that they're warriors behind a keyboard and a screen who go in and try to say that he was fired from his job and everything.
Yeah, that's a joke.
They laid off like half of Colt the day he was gone. And they literally laid him off based on how much they made, too.
Well, I've come out and told you exactly what happened with the engineer. I had an engineer who did not like me. He did not like the fact that I was finding issues, that he didn't like people in his rice bowl. I was always very much an advocate for the end user because the end users have a lot more at stake than their standing, from which like this engineer did. And if I found a problem, I said it. This guy took an opportunity as soon as General Keys left, because I was hired by General Keys. And the minute General Keys left, he was able to fire anybody he didn't like, and he ruined a lot of careers, that guy did. And he basically came after me. I wrote. I've always been in media. I've been writing for the last almost 20 years. I've been writing. And when I was working at Colt, I basically had to have another job because the job cost me $300 a week to have. That's what it cost me for gas, for a hotel, and food to be gone, and stay in a hotel for what I did. So you're looking at around $1,200 a month that I had to make up for my salary, to give to my family. So yeah, I was writing, and I had wrote an article. It was on that Lewis Machine and Tool. The same information appeared in Black Rifle too, so it wasn't new. And we were talking about I was talking about the enhanced bolt carrier. And the history of the enhanced bolt carrier was SOCOM was asked Carl Lewis to make a bolt carrier group that would be an improvement over the M4. At that time, they were having ones that were bolts that were breaking. There was some QC issues, and of course the carbine issues. And that's what I said. I says, SOCOM went to Carl because they wanted a better bolt carrier that was because they felt there's deficiencies in the M4. So he basically used that to tell, the new president that, this guy here's anti-Colt, he's not on our side, and all that kind of stuff. He took his opportunity. So when I was referring to exactly what the history was of it, which I had done before in the book, it doesn't take a lot to get fired in a place like that. If somebody just doesn't like you, it doesn't matter what you've done for the company or how good you are at what you do. If somebody views you as a threat, I'm sure any of you guys who work have seen that. If anybody views you as a threat, they have the opportunity, they're going to get rid of you. And that's what this engineer did. And again, a lot of good people were gone because, quite frankly, this guy was inferior. He was incompetent. Anybody who caught him out on it, he went after.
And look where the company resides today.
Yeah.
Justin on Donor Box. Justin is concerned about, before I give you this, if you guys are new to the channel, we usually don't delve into political stuff. That's just kind of not the niche that Chris goes down. There's lots of channels that do. But he wants to know about gun control lobbying. And as far as the next administration goes, what your thoughts are on that.
Well, quite frankly, I'm terrified. When you hear what's already been put forth, 30% tax on guns, 30% tax on ammo, you're talking about a complete ban of manufacturing of any military-style rifles. You're talking about a complete ban of high-capacity magazines. You're talking about basically a major hit to the Second Amendment, and that's exactly what we're facing right now. And I'm not confident. The Democrats have all three, and I think they're going to be able to push through anything that they want now. There's no check and balance, and they are not in support of the Second Amendment whatsoever. Banning an entire class of weapons, wanting to tax it. So, can you imagine what it's going to cost for one box of ammunition at 5.56 at 30% tax? Or you go to buy a cheap, a $500 pistol, and you got to pay 30% on top of that. And then he wants to also put through only one gun per month. It's clearly going to be an assault on Second Amendment. So yeah, I'm extremely concerned. I'm extremely concerned about everybody who does what we do. all of our channels. If you look at the media that's being censored, people who are going after, anybody who doesn't agree with what the other side's saying, the media is now taking them down. We've worked very hard for this channel to build it, to have it go just like that again. I know Heather's looking at some other avenues in case YouTube does come down. But yeah, there's a major concern. If you talk to any other content creators, they're going to tell you the same thing. So yeah, we are quite concerned. I'm quite concerned, yeah, for sure.
I don't operate that way. Life has ups and downs, and administrations come in and come out. I am always hopeful and optimistic. It's always scary, and this last year has been nothing less but frightening. But being the one that runs the channel, and Chris doesn't make the decisions, behind the camera. He's the guy in front of the camera, the guy you guys want to hear, and not me right now. But but I'm always looking at other places to go. We do have a BitChute channel. We've had a BitChute channel since, if you guys are new, we lost our first channel, and that's probably why I am the way I am. Was it 2 years ago? We lost our channel at 35,000 subscribers, and I worked my tail off to build that channel and have it all ripped away from YouTube.
For no reason. And
that's what happens. And I can't just sit here and, put my head down and cry. I just am the kind of person that keeps on going and figures out a way to get around it. And I've continually done that. I think I was probably one of the first people that started using Amazon links in the description box, because I had to build an entire channel over from scratch. And then commissions were yanked away. And you're always trying to circumvent. So my job every single day, that's why I shook my head earlier when you were like, oh, Heather's looking at other places. Heather's always looking at other places. I am always looking to circumvent the machine, the barricade, and circle back around to keep the content going, to keep getting better. And no matter what, we'll have a channel, and it'll be somewhere. And that's all you can do. So sorry, I won't. I promise I won't talk anymore.
Well, that's more of your area than mine. So,
do you remember when Colt carried a CZ-produced 40 model Z40 that was based on the CZ75? And do you think CZ can make Colt handguns relevant again?
It's not rocket science of what needs to be done at Colt to make them relevant again. You need to have real management and a real head of engineering to go, I'm going to take the M17 requirements, the exact requirements that the M17 had, hand that to that development team and said, make something that meets this. This is exactly how you bring Colt back, is you give them the requirements for a modern pistol that's modernly relevant, that will sell to a modern military and law enforcement. That is literally all you have to do. And that doesn't matter whether it's CZ or anybody else. It's having competent leadership. This is what Colt needs to come back, is to have somebody to push R&D to make modern, relevant equipment.
What are your opinions on, is it Psionics?
Psionics
rifles. I'm looking for a duty grade rifle in the $1,100 to $1,500 range, and Psionics is often brought up.
I gotta look that up. I'm not familiar with them. Never heard of them.
Never heard of that either. Not that it really matters. Psionics weapon systems. Did you find it?
Yeah. Dude, I can't offer you anything, and I've never heard of these guys. When it comes to military grade or law enforcement grade, you stick with the higher end, the LMT, LWRCI, Colt, Knights, FN, even some of the higher end M&Ps. You stick with a completely well-made rifle. I also would recommend for a duty rifle, you go to a company that actually makes their own parts rather than one who just assembles. That's going to give you a much better rifle also. I can't tell you where that's a good or not rifle, but it's not one that I've heard of.
In your opinion, can you build a rifle that equals a KAC SR15 and make it match a KAC reliability and stature?
You can, but you have to be sure that the parts are all made correctly that you're assembling. This is one of the problems that we come across. Like I mention this all the time, like a broken record with it. You have to make sure that your parts match, so they all meet the same. They meet the proper drawing, so the proper parts will work together as they're supposed to. That's what the mil spec was all about, with Colt making all those parts that were critical to the reliability fit together properly. That's where you have the major issues. Your barrel, your gas block fits the barrel properly. Things line up properly. You have proper heat treat and proper materials and so forth. That's the critical aspect. I have a rifle that I built here that I would take into combat with me in a heartbeat. Um, it was built off of several different components. However, I made sure that the components and everything were correct when they were assembled. For the most part, myself anyways, the guns that I have that are ones that I would consider a go-to rifle, these are not parts guns. These are entire LMTs, entire Colts. They're the ones that were made by companies that manufacture their parts in-house. And yes, my Colts were made prior to the loss of the contract. So I know they were made properly, and I know that these things will go to hell and back.
Yeah, for the BitChute channel, the name is actually Chris Bartocci, and the reason for that is our first channel was called Chris Bartocci. We named it that because
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Wow.
Because your name was who you were, and you as an author, and so it was Chris Bartocci, and so BitChute came around. That's what I started it. Then we named the new channel Small Arm Solutions, which has been our business name for like 10 years. We're also on Utreon, and our entire library, including live streams, are all over there as well.
See, I didn't know any of this. Like I said, she said she runs this thing. I'm just a guy.
That's why I shake my head when you're like, well, Heather's looking at new places. I'm like, Heather's always looking at new places. You always have to stay 5 feet ahead. You have to. You have to do it optimistically. And I'm always optimistic. I'm realistic, but I'm also optimistic. LMT versus LWRCI for a high quality rifle that is SHTF worthy.
Both are what you would call worthy. I own both. The LWRCs are certainly excellent rifles. LMTs. LMT is a much more modular system, which you have one platform. It allows you to easily switch from caliber to caliber to operating system, barrel lengths, and that's really hard to beat for the money. LWRC, if you want an external piston or an internal piston rifle, it gives you both. I would feel very comfortable with both. If you're looking at a rifle that's dedicated to one caliber, one barrel length, LWRC certainly is a good way to go. They both offer you enhancements. So really, whichever is available to you at this point.
What about using our website to upload videos? That's not really a viable option. At the end of the day, everybody complains about YouTube. And when we were off YouTube, I had the channel down for a good 3 months. And the reality is, as much as everybody complains and y'all all hate YouTube, y'all also all love YouTube. And that's where y'all were going to watch. So even though when we were still creating content and it was going on all these other channels, it was not being watched at all. We were losing everyone. So we had to come back to YouTube. It's kind of become a necessary evil of life. And until there's another platform that can not monopolize the industry the way YouTube has and actually be a real competitor, then we're stuck in it.
Or until YouTube comes down and they purge all two-way. The problem with the first time around was, it kept some and deleted some. So people were still staying on YouTube. So it didn't work. The only way another platform would work is if we were all forced off of YouTube and all had to go somewhere else. And if you wanted gun content, you had to go someplace else. That's the other way that it would have to work.
Do you think General Keys has changed his stance on Wonder 9s now that CZ might buy Colt?
Oh, General Keys has been gone for quite some time. I think General Keys, I don't know his status now. I know back when I left in 2010, he was in charge of, he left defense and went to manufacturing. And then when he left manufacturing, he stayed on the board. So General Keys doesn't have a dog in the fight no more. So I don't think it really would matter either way. But for as far as him changing his mind on 9mm, no way in hell. I remember him saying that this company will not make a 9mm while I'm here. That man won a Navy Cross with a 1911. So yeah, he was. Yeah, there was no wandering on that, wavering on that whatsoever with him.
Jonas on Donor Box. Thank you, Jonas. I just bought an SLR 107 FR off Gunbroker for $22.75. Did I overpay for it?
Not really. I think you look at equivalent models, you're going to be around the same price. I think that's probably about the going rate. I definitely don't think that you were robbed.
Dave on Donor Box, thank you. If the M4 was originally developed for combat support elements, what changed to make it the primary rifle for the military?
Well, what changed was the convenience. The fact that when you compared the rifle to an M16A2 at the time, that up until around 300-400 yards, the rifles were equal for as far as everything. But you get a lighter weight, rifle. So it was the convenience, and people liked the feel of it. They liked the telescopic stock, because another thing that really changed with the global war on terror was the more adamant use of body armor. A telescopic stock made a major difference when you tried shooting a rifle versus a fixed stock. There's a lot of things. The only problem was when it was issued that way, they didn't turn it into an infantry rifle versus a rear echelon type rifle. That wasn't done until not too long ago with the PIP program, where they got rid of the light profile barrel, went to the SOCOM barrel, and got rid of the burst and went to auto, and they truly turned it into a combat rifle instead of a light support weapon or a light duty weapon.
I recently watched your POF review and own an LWRCI CA5. Do you recommend buying the POF buffer tube for carrier tilt?
I don't think it makes that much of a difference, in the long run, unless you're doing a lot of full auto firing or real heavy use like that. You'll never see enough of it issue to make a difference. I mean, you're really looking at thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds. Would it be an upgrade? Sure, it'd be an upgrade. But is it necessary? No. I've got LWRCI that I've had for quite a few years. I've put a lot of rounds through it. And with the skis and everything that are on the back of it, in the way that the buffer or the rear of the bolt carrier is shaped, I don't think it's necessary. Wouldn't hurt, but not necessary.
Is CZ actually going to buy Colt? That's actually my question. So it is going to go through?
Yeah, they're in the final
stages.
I've
just been reading a lot of stuff saying if they do, but...
no, it was supposed to be completed before the end of the year, but then things got pushed back with it. Like I said, this is a good thing, people. This is a good thing. This is going to give them a chance to make a comeback. As long as they were through. Yeah, as long as they were on the path that they were going on, it was just a matter of time before that bankruptcy hit again, and they lost everything again. And then the damn investors would just sell off the company and its assets, and it would be pretty much done with. This is a good thing.
Does CZ have a lot of funds?
Yeah, very successful company, been around for well over 100 plus years, and it's a gun company. It's not owned by a bunch of investors where it bleeds. CZ is a progressive company. They make modern rifles and modern pistols.
Everyone's really going to hate me because I'm over here asking you questions during our Q&A.
Nothing wrong with that.
Hamish,
there are people who she thinks there's people here who don't want her on here
because they say that, and it's
I'm sorry, she's just as much of a part of this as I am.
They say that.
She goes through this and she's able to pull out questions for me. We're a 2-for-1 deal here.
I keep trying to get him to do it alone, but he won't.
No.
Hamish on Donor Box, he said he made a donation. He said for the vice of your choice. Thank you so much. Chris wants to know, may have missed it, but what are your thoughts on CZ possibly buying Colt?
As I said, dude, you're going to have to go through this again. But like I said, this is a good thing, people. I know a lot of people are upset because it's not an American company. Let's be realistic, people. Also, how many American companies have been successful with development of modern military rifles these days? How many American companies? You have LMT, you have Knights. You don't have a lot of if you look at some of the most effective rifles that are out there outside of the M16 platform, you're looking at foreign platforms. But the end result is this. You're looking at a gun company buying a gun company who knows what they want. They're buying it to make money and to innovate and to get into additional marketplaces. Like I said, this is a good thing.
Bunny wants to know, is 9310 still okay for a bolt in 7.62 by 39?
Sure. I think it's slightly better than the Carpenter 158.
Brent says, no question, just a little extra support. Thank you, Brent.
Thanks, Brent. I'd love to hear what Brent thinks about this, because Brent's a big Colt guy. He's been there. He's a collector. I'd love to have him chime in here and see what he thinks of the sale of Colt. I know he's got a lot of personal interest in it, and I value his opinion quite a bit. I was just
curious because all these debts that Colt has, and what's CZ's money like? Because I feel like they kind of went away a little bit. Well, everybody was talking about trying to get guns from them and couldn't.
CZ is a financially healthy company. They have major contracts.
But are they boarding the Titanic?
No, I highly doubt they're going to be getting Colt's liabilities. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that's put in there to, so they're not going to be taking it out. You wouldn't take on a company that had that kind of liability.
That sounds like it's definitely going to be interesting.
But like I said, it's not rocket science of what it needs to make it successful.
Thank you, Mark. Any thoughts on the Dan Wesson DWX CZ Shadow 2 frame with a 1911 slide and trigger?
As you guys know, I'm not much of a 1911 type person. I really haven't messed around with it too much. I do have some guns on order. I've had some guns on order from CZ. I should be getting a P10F any day now. That's one of the ones that's going to be coming up.
Yeah, somebody just said that they got their patch and it looks nice. You want to show that? I do still have a few of those left, but I am getting low. And then I just got these in because I had some people who wanted asked for stickers, and these are holographic, so they kind of look a little silver. Those are $6, $6.50. If anybody wants a patch or a sticker, you can email me.
Yes, and my 17-year-old daughter can't believe anybody wants to have her father's logo on anything because she thinks he's a loser.
These stickers are really nice, though. They're waterproof, so you can put them on your car. You can put them on your safe. But yeah, I ordered a few of those. Are melanated gas tubes worth it?
I don't think that it offers that much. I mean, it's one of those things that doesn't hurt. I think I've only ever used one of them. I'm trying to remember who I got it from many, many, many years ago, but it's not anything that I've ever looked for.
Any news on the Glock 46?
There has been no information that I know of. And of course, when it comes to Glock, I'm a second-class citizen. I don't hear from them anymore. I find out the same thing when you guys do. I'm not one of the chosen ones who goes to any of their summits or anything. But the last I knew, they had no intention of bringing the 46 to the U.S. That was made for a very specific contract. My curiosity is right up there, I'm sure, with the rest of you guys. How that system works compared to a standard Glock safe action and a standard Browning linkless barrel locking mechanism versus a rotating barrel. I'm really curious myself. But there's been no information.
Hey, Adnan.
Hey, Adnan.
Any insight on quality of current Colt uppers sold on Brownells? Looking at a 14.5 SOCOM upper. He said Waterburger for life.
I have one right behind me up in my rack, one of those barrels. The barrel certainly looks like it's decent quality. My hope is that those barrels are made per Colt specs. They're not just ones that are Colt are buying. If that's the case, I don't see anything wrong with the barrels at all. I have not shot that particular barrel yet, just because I haven't gotten around to. I have to get my buddy get Brandon from the gun room out there with his full auto lower to do some messing around with it. But people, I keep saying this, that the stuff that's coming out of Colt right now, I make no qualms of its quality. The only thing I'm telling anybody is this stuff's not made in-house the way it was, which is what we bought Colt for, with the mil spec stuff made in-house. as far as the quality is concerned, I have yet to hear anybody complain about the quality of anything that's coming out of Colt and ARs right now, other than they're not marked properly, the parts that aren't made there. I've never heard anybody saying this gun's not working or there's an accuracy issue. We don't hear any of that. So I'm not telling anybody that there is a problem with the quality of these rifles, just that they're not made as per mil spec like those original ones were.
Do you think that that's why Colt stopped saying that they were manufacturing for the civilian market, because they were already have this like merger in the works? Maybe that was part of the cutoff.
No, this has been going on for quite some time.
That's what I figured. Maybe they had a cutoff for when they had to stop producing stuff. Just thinking. Any experience pressing the Robinson XCR?
Yes, only the 16-inch barrel because I never SBR'd mine. The Robinson Armament is a fully adjustable gas system, so you can adjust that gas down to make it work beautifully. So you certainly can. You get those. You get SBR lowers or SBR lower. You can get the shorter carbine length barrels, and you can suppress those again, fully adjustable. That system can do anything that you want it to do. It's an excellent system. You'll be seeing me do a redo of that coming up over the next couple months. Most of the work's already done. We just got to do the tabletop. I'm very behind right now. I have a lot of stuff that's in the pike ready to go.
Yeah, he wanted me to film like every day, but I had to kind of stop yesterday because I desperately wanted to get something finished for you guys and get up. But so he's gonna have me strapped behind a camera all day tomorrow.
Yeah, my son's off school on Monday, so his ass is gonna be out to the range, and we're gonna be doing some filming.
Christopher says, "Thanks for your favorite channel on YouTube."
Well, thank you very much.
And back up to Glock. Chris was very excited today that a friend of mine that owns some land out here is doing CHLs and wanted to know if anybody wanted to join in. And
finally,
isn't that terrible?
That's like a Texan getting a driver's license here, getting a CHL. And again, she tells me I'm the Yankee here.
But I'm also your wife, so it's like the fact that I'm your wife and I run this and I don't even have one. It's like it's kind of bad. I know it's bad.
Well, I've got a couple of Sig P365s coming in,
and that's today. That was my point. That's what I'm going to be.
Reality is that P365 is going to be replacing my Glock 42, and there's another P365 that just may go to her as her CHL weapon if she decides she wants to ever carry anything.
Chris has always been a big fan of Glock, and he had that little baby Glock for me, and I did take it to the range a few times and get comfortable with it and load it and do all of that, but it just wasn't my jam at all. And I could pick up a Sig and
for her she's gonna have to do a range session for her CHL. So she's gonna take the M18, my M18 for that, and she'll be able to do fine with that.
You got to represent out there because I'm your wife. It's got to be. I was already going to donate you two out there and be like, you could help all those women that are trying to get their CHLs and come and donate your time for that. Do you think Colt will move to a more friendly state?
Well, it's sort of funny we mentioned that. I was just talking to Michiko William today, and he was talking about how CZ's moving to Arkansas, where he's out of, and it would make a lot of sense for them to drop Colt's plant in Hartford and move out to Arkansas. That would be a very good move. The only thing that sort of would suck is they have some very good talent at Colt. It was unused talent and unappreciated talent. That I would hope that they would be able to move with them. My buddy Art out there, probably one of the most gifted and one of the best model makers I've ever seen in my life. And he stayed at Colt. I tried to get him to move for years to a place that would utilize him better and appreciate him better. I would love to see him get an opportunity to get not only treated better, but to have him become like the director of engineering, somebody who's worthy of it. And that's a guy there who's worthy of it. And hopefully he would move with Colt to that. But a lot of these people are very partial to living up in that part of the country.
Why don't you see PDWs in pistol calibers like the 44 Magnum?
Well, first off, 44 Magnum, it's a rim cartridge, and that's a very difficult one to feed in an autoloader. Just the way they sit in the magazine, it's not really reliable. The straight taper on it's not that great of a thing. The kind of power that you have there to put into you can't put it in a blowback. Gas system, you could potentially work. Radio delayed, it probably would work. But it's just not anything anybody's really ever asked for that I know of. Never really seen anybody do anything like that.
Nothing on the HK website for rifles except 22 LR. Have you heard about something new coming?
I have not. I remember asking my contact there last year, and she said that she didn't really want to answer the question. H&K's gone through a lot of turmoil in this past year. They've got some government contracts for overseas. I don't know what they're planning this year. Last year was just a 22 long rifle that's put up by somebody else. That's not directly made by H&K, so I'm not sure what they're doing. That's a company I have a very good relationship with, and I plan on talking to her very soon. With SHOT Show being canceled, the communications of new products, I'm curious to see how this is all going to be handled, because that's where you go to find out about everything that's new, and to sit and talk to the reps about it. Without having that this year, there's been rumors of a virtual SHOT Show or things like that. I just haven't really heard too much about it.
Why don't more bolt action sniper rifles have that special hair trigger where you first push the trigger forward to enable it and then pull back to fire? Seiko calls it a, quote, set trigger.
Well, I'm not a match shooter. I would expect that something like that you'd have to take to the snipers and see if it's something that they like. Unfortunately, the more mechanism you add to the trigger, generally the more issues a trigger can have. It doesn't have as nice of a feeling. Just like you guys who like your 1911s and say, well, if I put a firing pin block in it, it affects the trigger. I don't like that, so I don't want a firing pin block. A lot of it comes down to that. Snipers and people who are precision shooters are very, very, very finicky on what they like and what they don't like. So those are the guys who would have to take a look at that and see if it's something that they really thought was worthy or not.
I just bought a Taurus 942 8-shot 22 WMR revolver for $350 out the door. Was it a good purchase?
It's a good question. I only own a couple of revolvers. Actually, most of those are ones that were willed to me. I'm not really. The only thing revolver I ever bought here was I have a Colt 45 Peacemaker that I got when I was at Colt. And I have a Dirty Harry 629. So I'm not up on what the cost of revolvers are at this point. I wish I could give you some better information on that one, but I'm just not really a revolver guy.
Your daughter's going to be really surprised when she brings her boyfriend over and he spends more time talking to dad about guns.
Oh, that's something we're talking about right now. She has a guy who she's interested in.
And he literally is like, no, he has to come to the house and I want to talk to him in my office.
Yeah, and come to find this kid he's a freshman in college, and he
he's
is ROTC.
Yeah.
It's like, well, not only your father used to teach ROTC when he was in college, he's a weapons expert, works with military. Yeah, I told her, but I should bring him over here now because I'm your way into him to have him as a boyfriend because he's going to want to come and see your father.
I used to call Chris's office in New York the Bermuda Triangle for men because I would have friends come over with their spouses, and then once he took them down there, you'd never see him again. I remember walking down to the basement one time, and there was a guy laying on the floor with your sniper rifle, like he was at the range.
Oh, guys, they're just not into the Desperate Housewives and all those kind of things. The Kardashians and everything. They're not interested in that.
I'm into small arm solutions and wine and watching Outlander.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ. What do you think about backup optics instead of backup iron sights?
It's an interesting concept. It's definitely been done. You'll see, in fact, if you look at the L129, the rifle that LMT sold the Brits, had the 6-power Trijicon ACOG on top with a RMR on top of that. I do have one rifle right now that I'm going to be reviewing. The next rifle I'm reviewing is going to be a Rifle Dynamics AK, which has a optic on it, a scope, and then it has mounted to the gas tube a red dot. I like the fact of having backup sights that are standard non-optic, because if you get in cold weather or something like that and those batteries die at the wrong time, you're switching to something else. I just think that it's cool to have on there, yes, but I don't think there's any replacement for flip-up backup sights that can be used in an emergency. I don't think there's anything that would be a good idea on a combat rifle to replace those. Can you have something else on there? Oh, absolutely. But I definitely just don't recommend not having a backup that is non-electronic, especially in cold weather. I've had so many batteries die on me in cold weather just because they can't take the cold temperatures. Of course, not here in Texas, but in New York. I would go out, when it was in the negatives, and test guns when I was writing for small arms review, and those batteries would just freaking die like that. I mean, I remember somewhere you could actually just see the optic just go, get dim to gone, just because the batteries didn't hold up to the cold weather. And if it didn't have backup rear sights, my shooting would have stopped that day. So I'm somebody who just is a firm believer in having backup iron sights.
He's joking and saying he could see you polishing your rifles when a boyfriend walks in and says, "Oh, so you wish to date my daughter?"
I told my wife, or told my daughter, I says, I have one rifle. It's my Noreen 338 Lapua. Mile. Range is a mile.
Well, and we have 3 daughters, and our oldest is a daughter. And
she's the one thinks I'm a loser. I don't have enough subscribers. I think
she's 17, and true story, she's never even had a boyfriend because she's scared of that man right there with his guns. So that's
but the thing is that she's not the one who should be scared. It's them who should be scared, because anything that they do to her, I do to them.
I know. That's frightening. Joseph on Box, thank you. He said, "What's your favorite combat rifle optic?" I gave in and just bought a Trijicon MRO HD. I'm too cheap for the ACOG right now.
My all-time favorite of anything would probably be the VCOG. That is probably my favorite overall optic for a combat rifle. Now, for longer range rifles, it's a different story. But for an intermediate rifle, the Trijicon VCOG is probably my favorite.
Does dwell time affect DI and piston in the same way, or is DI more sensitive to it since the gas tube needs to be filled all the way to the carrier?
Dwell time is far more of an issue with external piston because you don't have it as much. You have a much more violent opening of the action. So dwell time is handled much differently with external piston just because of the way that it operates. You get a violent hit from the operating rod onto that carrier, which is what causes that carrier to move rearward while it's still trying to unlock, which is why you have that mark in an AR upper receiver. It's dealt differently on most guns. It causes more of a problem in an AR platform because it wasn't designed for it, because you don't have the rails with the carrier tilt and so on and so forth. But dwell time is a major part for any unloading firearm. You have to have residual pressures drop enough so you can safely extract that cartridge, so that cartridge case breaks free of the wall so it can be extracted. If you do it too soon, you have a failure to extract, whether it be ripping the rim off or having the extractor slip right off. You have too much, you got on a short stroke.
This guy said, "So you're saying you're willing to go gay?" I say, "Too. Whatever you do to her, you're gonna have to do to me too." That sounds terrible.
Oh no, I'm not talking not in that kind of a way. Believe me.
If you're gonna touch her boob, you touch your boob. Barry on Donor Box wants to know, I have a 1974 Colt SP1 with a small hole drilled into the receiver where index cross would be. Why is that there?
And where the index cross would be? Text my wife and send a picture.
Text?
Or
email me.
Yeah, email her a picture, and I'll get back to you. It doesn't sound right.
Bartocci@smallarmsolutions.com. I know I say that fast sometimes. Yeah, just send me a photo, and I'll send it over to him later, and we'll get an answer for you. I just bought a BCM 14.5-inch mid-length upper with a pinned welded brake. What buffer should I use with it?
An H would be fine for that. It should be. Again, if you start seeing a really your ejection pattern going around 1 o'clock, you could probably switch to an H2. It gets very difficult trying to tell you guys what buffers to use on non-military guns. On military guns, it's a science. Using 5.56 NATO ammunition, it's a science. I can tell you exactly how it works. But the problem is, and I've had several people comment on videos with this too, about the ejection patterns and everything on these commercial rifles. The reality is if you have a commercial or a military rifle that's designed for military ammunition, when you guys decide you want to put your Wolf ammunition in it, they don't work. And I've seen many guys out there say that the way they judge a rifle is if it'll work with shit ammunition. The reality is if you want it to work with shit ammunition that doesn't have the mil spec port pressures and chamber pressures, you have to open the gas port up to allow more gas in so it will work with that non-spec ammunition. So what most manufacturers do for commercial rifles is they open those gas ports up so it will work with that wide variety of ammunition. So it'll work properly with the shit Wolf ammunition. But then when you put NATO ammunition, now it's going to appear to be overgassed because it's going to be throwing those cartridge cases more forward. So you have to have that much wider window to use the vast amounts of ammunition. When you're making a gun for a military, for instance, U.S. military, it has to work with M855 ball. Okay, all M855 ball has to adhere to a specific port pressure, a specific chamber pressure. So you specifically tune the gun for that. And a lot of manufacturers, they get a request in from a special forces unit, okay, we're going to be using this ammunition with this sound suppressor. So they will make a particular gas valve on it, so it'll work properly with 5.56 NATO unsuppressed. And then you have this suppressor working with this ammunition, it'll be gassed for that. You can do that when you're dealing with specific ammunition, but this wide variety of ammunition, it makes it very difficult to come up with something that's going to work properly with everything. So you have to have that window.
Christopher on Donor Box, he just made a donation. He says for the Whataburger Fund.
Thank you.
And then he says he likes that we don't talk politics.
It's like I said, there's certain things that I have no problem really, giving my opinions on, but there's too many other guys who do such a much better job.
And it is such a chaotic time, not just with politics, but just with life in general. Sometimes it's nice to go someplace where you can just talk about guns. It's a good distraction for us too.
Yeah.
What sets the LWRCI DI apart from other DI rifles? And also, what are your opinions on Sprinco springs?
Oh, well, it's interesting you say all that. Well, first off, the LWRCI is an absolute excellent rifle. If you look at the cost of that, you are getting every modern update that there is: fully ambidextrous, magazine, bolt, and safety. You're getting several QD points. You're getting an enhanced bolt carrier, which has a one-piece carrier with a machined carrier key, so you don't get leakage from there. You're getting a Colt hammer forged barrel spiral. You're literally getting all of the best features that you could potentially ask for. That's what sets them apart, and it's all made in-house with all those major parts, so you know that they work. Springco, it's interesting you're mentioning those because I just received some Springco springs about 3 weeks ago. I'm looking to do some videos coming up that's going to talk a little bit more about buffers with different types of firearms and how you would tune them depending on ammunition and whatnot. So I talked to them about getting some of their buffers. They have heavy buffers, springs, heavy buffer springs. They also have an interesting buffer assembly for Glocks, Gen 5s. So I'm just getting into using those at the moment. So stand by for that one.
How much clearance do I need between my gas block and handguard with a free floated barrel? It's 1 1/8 inch. Is 1 1/8 enough?
Sure it is. As long as that's not touching, you're good to go. There's not really a clearance. As long as the barrel has nothing impeding on it, you're good to go.
Do you know if you can request from LMT the military barrel with the gas port size proper for a 5.56 ammunition?
You don't necessarily need to. If you buy any LMT rifle, you go with an H or an H2 buffer with any of their commercial barrels, you'll be good to go. LMT does overgas those systems, so they will work with that crap ammunition. In fact, one of my go-to rifles I have is I SBR'd it, and it's a 14.5 inch barrel, and I use Mark 262 as my defense ammunition, and it came with a standard carbine buffer, and it was launched in the cartridge cases at 1 o'clock. So basically it took an H2 to get it down to where it needed to be. So it was around 3 to 4, and it's gassed perfectly now. And that's all you have to worry about. You don't really have to worry about, what the gas port is. It's just a matter of adjusting that buffer so it's where it needs to be. Now, if you decide to buy any external piston 14.5 or 10.5 or 12.5, those are automatically done for military. They don't do any commercial. At least the ones I have, they're not commercial. They're military ports.
We're rebarreling our M16A1, having trouble finding anyone local to mount the front sight. Any suggestions for reputable smiths who do melon work?
You're probably better off talking amongst yourselves on that. I have my stuff done with Centurion Arms, but then again, most of those barrels come from him. I don't really do a lot of building anymore, and when I do build, so I'm up there, I'm generally using his barrels. So for as far as who does drilling and pinning, I'm sure you'd probably be able to Google that and find out.
Does Monty usually offer that at
No,
Centurion?
no.
Okay.
Unless
They're pretty overwhelmed over there
unless
right
you
now.
buy the barrel from him, he just doesn't have the time.
Well, maybe where he has the barrel from or where he's getting it.
Yeah, it's he's pretty much the only guy I buy barrels from anymore. Anyway, so I just have to do. I generally use the arms folding front sights bases, which have which are set up to be drilled. They don't make them anymore, unfortunately. I send those to him. He puts them on his barrel. He drills and taps it for me and pins it.
I'm thinking of picking up a Troy A4 other firearm for New Jersey. Is the rifle worth the $1,300 asking price?
Sure, Troy does a good job. Of course, it has to be New Jersey compliant. I don't see that as being out of line at all.
What are your thoughts on Steiner Optics, Benelli M4 or Gucci AK variant?
Well, in fact, I just got a Steiner Optic that I'll be testing for the first. I did have a regular magnified optic 5 years ago. I was very pleased with it, and then I just got one of their new.
You can't show that.
On that.
Okay.
It's the.
Get me in trouble with YouTube.
It's not written on there. Well, it's their holographic sight, which I'm looking forward to messing with. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when it gets there. After I get some time behind the trigger. Steiner generally is known for making extremely fine glass, so it's extremely expensive. Generally, they send me T&Es. I have them for a brief period, and I send them back.
This is a question from Jake. He was on here last week and he had the same question. So I think this is something he's really wondering.
Okay.
From one author to another, what's the deal with Guns and Ammo magazine? They lavish praise on everything they review, even if it's a confirmed piece of flaming dog.
Well, I'll tell you from somebody who's done a lot of writing in the past, Guns and Ammo is like American Rifleman, where a lot of what they do are reviewing people who do advertising. So you're not going to have a company that's going to spend thousands and thousands of dollars for advertising pages in these magazines to come and say that your gun's a piece of crap. So you don't get really what you would say as impartial views. That's one of the problems. I can tell you from when I worked for several of these companies that if you were writing on a product that was advertised, that if you either didn't mention the product, it was a bad problem, or you just didn't write the article. What I used to do is if I would get something in that it was bad and I was working for one of these magazines, I just wouldn't do the review.
Yep. Because
I'd rather not do the review than have to say something that's not true. So when you're looking at what few magazines that are left, I mean, if any of you guys have any marketing experience at all in this industry, American Rifleman and Shooting Illustrated, astronomical, the most expensive space in print for advertisers. So that's why you only see
at a time when no one has print.
Yeah, and you also only have manufacturers who have very, very large budgets. So most of the manufacturers are not going to get represented by those magazines because they can't afford it. So that's, is my opinion, what you're seeing. If someone's paying for you advertisements, they're not going to pay for you to advertise their products if you're going to say it's a piece of garbage. So that's probably why you're seeing it. I don't read those, to be honest with you.
He used to.
I used to. I haven't in years, since a lot of those magazines that I did like are gone. Special Weapons for Military and Police, and a lot of those other ones after Harris shut down. Small Arms Review is an abomination. You know, I see what Small Arms Review has turned into. You know, after Dan Shea's wife and daughter took that over, it went from a high technical magazine to a feminist gun rag. That's all. It's all that it is now. I mean, when you see pictures of women with shoulder holsters in their front, where before you would see soldiers in battlefields, and you're talking about real military gear, real military weapons, and now you're talking about stuff that's not even relevant to what the magazine already was. It's just been completely destroyed. You would never think that was ever a Small Arms Review or Machine Gun News.
I'm actually really happy that they did that, though.
Yeah.
And every one of our subscribers should be as well, because I have been, you know, Small Arms Solutions was created about 10 years ago. And that was one of the things I wanted to do back when we still lived in New York. I wanted to do a YouTube channel. I thought that, you know, he would be great for that. And he just didn't want to do it. Nobody wants to listen to me. Nobody cares what I have to say. And I'm like, but they do. And you actually have worked in this industry and you have a lot of experience. And he was writing a lot for these magazines. And he was getting so frustrated with how it was going, because he would write a great article and then they didn't even want to publish it unless that manufacturer was going to buy ad space.
Yeah.
So then he was basically having to sell ad space to make $200 on a magazine article he had wrote.
Yeah, they were basically the literary minimum wage for gun rags.
So that's how I got him to go on YouTube. One, and he broke his back. I swear I didn't push you off that ladder when you broke your back.
Yeah, you guys believe that?
But that's why he ended up doing YouTube, was because, you know, I was like, you can actually make whatever you want instead of having to get stuff approved and write these articles and actually create the content that you're interested in. And that's
well,
what
my content is, you know, between what interests me and what my viewers tell me that they want. You know, I'm not going to write about something that nobody wants to hear about or something that I have no interest in.
But also starting Small Arms Solutions, you know, my job was to run the business. And I told him he had to stop giving things away for free. And because it was getting very frustrating watching you write and then something wouldn't work out. And so it wasn't like he said, oh, you know what, I'm not going to do the article now. You know, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to give you bad press. What he did is he'd call him up and he'd spend about 2 hours on the phone, and it could delve into several different phone calls, basically fixing their problem with whatever it was, their gun, their ammo, like whatever it was. He was giving them free consulting.
That's true.
So I was like, if I do this business, you can't do that anymore. Why does defensive ammo still come in 20-round boxes?
It's not designed as a target shooting ammunition. It's designed to go in your magazine. And that's what my opinion is. I can't tell you for sure, but the ammunition generally comes in 20-round boxes, nickel cases, which is not good for reloaders. It's good for reliability and smooth feeding. And then the ammunition is extremely expensive. You know, if you look at a modern high-performance hollow point versus ball, you're looking at 3 to 4 times the cost a lot of times. So that stuff's really designed just to fill your magazine, not if it's for target ammunition. That's what my opinion of it would be.
When will Centurion stuff be in stock, or did it already sell out again?
As soon as it comes up, you really have to keep an eye on the site and check it.
I would check it multiple times a day if there's really something that you're looking for. I've talked to his wife 2 weeks ago, and Chris just talked to Monty on the phone. Yeah. Stuff is like they just got a bunch of stuff in that they said that was going to be back in stock like a week ago. So I don't know if it's already sold out. I don't think so, but I would definitely check.
You just got to just keep on the website
and be mindful of those Centurion codes that we have. They're in all of our description boxes, so you can save some money off the purchases when they do come in. I think that was one of the things that she had said, because I forgot. I read it out last week, so if you're looking for that update, it's on last week's Q&A where I read out what she said. But I think it was uppers and lowers that they've been out of for a while, and they were making a whole bunch. Adnan on Donor Box, thank you so much, Adnan. Can civilians purchase the M118LR AB39 PIP product improvement program round that was developed to enhance the current M118LR ammunition, made to have better lot-to-lot uniformity, better temperature stability, and improved flash reduction?
That is exactly what the Black Hills 175 grain OTM round is. That is exactly what that round that he sells commercially is.
Well, that was his second part, was Black Hills ammunition Do they sell their own version of that particular cartridge to the commercial market as well?
Yeah, that's basically exactly what their 308 175 grain OTM is. That is a military grade cartridge. Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on Galil Ace?
I'm very fond. I've reviewed all three, with the exception of the 545. I ended up keeping the 716x39. That just happened to be my favorite. The recoil, the way that the whole thing was made, they just happen to be my favorite. They are excellent, excellent firearms. The only thing about those is if you're interested in suppressing, those are not good guns to suppress. I don't know if K&S has made a adjustable gas valve for that one or not yet, but those are not guns you want to suppress. They are heavily overgassed. The barrels are fine, but you need to have some kind of way to restrict the gas on them. Reliability, 1000%. Accuracy, the barrels that are on those are good Colt hammer forged barrels. They're quite popular as a military rifle. Vietnam has a 716x39. They produce them there. The Chilean Army, the 5.56, use them. Those are just a couple of them. There's several other militaries that are using them. They're being made in countries that, IWI is basically licensed out the technical data so they can be made in those countries.
Well, guys, I think we're going to shut it down for tonight. We have a, well, when we get Joey's. What's the best source of quality information on terminal ballistics?
In forensics, there was a guy named Marty Fackler who gave a lot of the information that the U.S. military had depended upon. Now, there's a lot of people out there who will talk about it. Most of them have never shot anybody or seen a dead body. Most of it's very academic. I delve into it quite a bit because, again, I have spent 10 years in forensics. I've seen more dead bodies than I care to say. And I've seen exactly what different caliber bullets do to bodies. And I also spent 10 years as a defense contractor as well. So, I've gotten a very good firsthand experience with those from those two different jobs. The forensics job was very valuable because you look at more of the hollow point ammunitions and so forth. But in print, probably Fackler is your best bet.
We have to go pick up a child from work. Hopefully she'll have her own car soon, so it doesn't affect our Q&As.
Well, thank you all very much. We thank you for spending your evening with us, and hope you enjoyed yourselves. I know I did. I always enjoy doing these.
Yes.
Any of you guys who are not on our Patreon yet, please consider that. That's our biggest thing right now as far as keeping us going is our Patreon accounts.
And you should have a new video out this weekend too.
Yeah, they'll be on the CMMG Mark 17.
I didn't even know that.
Yep.
I guess he's decided which one he wants.
That's one we have. That's one we did already.
Oh, I figured you'd have.
Oh, yeah, there'll be a lot more. Yes.
Yeah, I'll be filming a lot.
Well, tentatively, that's gonna be the one that's gonna be coming up.